Exactly 10 months ago, we turned this product development company around by implementing our cold email outreach system to their marketing strategy. They had already tested out every possible lead generation strategy there is, from trying to manage campaigns in-house to hiring outside expensive agencies, only to find themselves having BuzzLead run and design their cold email campaigns for them, simply because nothing else had ever worked. What was the result? $90,000 in profit, not revenue, already collected, plus an additional $1.2 million in open pipeline revenue as a result from our cold email campaigns. So if any of this sounds like you, then make sure to stick around because I'm about to break down the exact cold email strategy that we used for Product Evo, and chances are you're probably going to get a couple of really important takeaways that you could use, but they're only going to be successful if you follow every step. So make sure to stick around. I'll see you in the video. All right, so prior to jumping into the campaign breakdown strategy that we use for Product Evo, I want to give you a little story to think about, to just give you some context and help you see what was going on with Product Evo prior to working with BuzzLead. Let's pretend that you and your friends had a camping trip scheduled out, and during that camping trip, you know that you're going to be doing some serious fishing because you and your friends love eating fish and you'd love to get a nice catch, throw it on the grill, and have a nice feast together. You prepare all the right tackle, you have all the right fishing gear, you feel like you know the spots of the national park, the rivers that you should be fishing in, and come time to fish, you go out there and you spend about an hour, you're casting it, throwing bait out, thinking that you're gonna get something, only to find out that you don't get a single bite. And in the whole hour, you saw literally just one fish in the entire river. So out of frustration, one of your friends suggests an idea. He's like, hey, I know this national park has 3 different rivers, and I've heard that the other rivers, even though they're a little bit further and harder to access, they are overflowed in fish because people aren't really fishing too much over there. So you guys pack your bags, you pack your tackle, you go, you cast out your line at this new river, and then 3 minutes later, bam, you catch a fish. You cast again, bam, you catch another fish. And you just keep on catching fish. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because it's similar to what was going on with Product Evo. They were running cold email marketing in-house, but they just didn't know where to find the right data or how to get the right message across to the right people. And they were basically fishing in the same exact river that everybody else was, essentially going after very saturated data, or in this analogy, it's a river that doesn't have any more fish because everybody already caught the fish. So it's very similar, and I wanted to break that down because it's going to give a lot of context and help you understand why our campaign was so successful. So let's go ahead and just jump into the whole situation here. And essentially, the problems that Product Evo was facing is, one, they had already worked with a previous lead generation partner, a cold email agency, about 2.5 years ago, and they just really had a bad experience, a bad taste in their mouth. This agency had booked them a couple of meetings here and there, but the problem was every single meeting that they booked for them was unqualified. So Product Evo was not only paying a very, very expensive retainer, but they were also hopping on these calls, wasting time with prospects who we call tire kickers that didn't have the funds and they weren't ready to buy. And so after that 7-month span of working with this agency, Product Evo realized they wasted a ton of time and they wasted a ton of money working with an agency, only to find themselves not being able to close a single deal out of that whole partnership. So then Product Evo decides to take things in-house. They're like, you know what? Let me hire a full-time employee that's going to help me manage the cold email campaigns. And the CEO, Josh, figured we could get this in-house. I'll train them. It's a weekend project. We'll be able to get it done. So they decide to run cold email in-house for about 2 years. They have a Zoom Info subscription that they're paying about $25,000 a year for. And then they have a full-time employee that they're paying a hefty salary for. They found that there was a lot of challenges and it wasn't necessarily or really a weekend project. And after 2 full years, what they ended up finding is that in their peak performance, their best 3-month period, they were able to schedule 9 qualified sales calls over 3 months in total. And not only did they lose $50,000 a year times 2 years, $100,000 there, but they were only able to close a couple of new customers out of their efforts there. But the worst part about it is that they were sending emails from their primary domain. And what happened is a lot of their clients started reaching out, telling them that all their emails are going to spam. And it really, really, really affected a whole lot of internal operations because Product Evo could not communicate with their employees. They couldn't communicate with their customers or really just send any emails from their main email. As you could see, that's a huge, huge issue. So after this whole 3-year period testing out the agency, doing things in-house, Product Evo said, let's give it one more try. Let's go and seek out another agency, see if we could find the right partner. In came BuzzLead, here we are. And to just kind of tell you about a couple of the issues, or I guess some of the challenges that really was preventing Product Evo from being successful with cold email, is number one, they lacked the technical know-how. So from a list building perspective, they didn't know where to find untapped data. They knew that they could service any business that is creating different products. And there's millions of product creators out there, but the problem was Product Evo is relying on ZoomInfo only and using that as their main source of finding qualified leads to actually reach out to. And with the small markets that they felt were their ICP, they realized that there was only a few thousand prospects that they could reach out to based off ZoomInfo's data. And what that ended up leading to was, they just had diminishing returns. They didn't know where to find new leads to reach out to, and it was just very hard to get any, big traction. The other thing is the CEO, Josh, was spending 10+ hours, trying to figure this whole system out and training another employee that he was also paying a full-time salary for. So it just ran into major bandwidth issues. How are you going to run a whole company when you're trying to figure out how to manage an inbox or how to build lead list? It overall just became very problematic, and he just realized that it wasn't worth his time trying to figure it out in-house. Understanding how to actually position your offer in a lucrative way is something that a lot of people struggle with, particularly when you're reaching out to multiple different markets that you could serve. Your message and the pain points that you're solving with your solution are going to be different depending on who you're reaching out to. So with the lack of expertise in list building and knowing how to craft persuasive copy, Product Evo really struggled to tap into different markets and just have ongoing success with their campaigns. And then I've already said it before, but a negative ROI in these 3 years of trying things with agencies and doing things in-house led them to working with BuzzLead. And as a result, to give you some high-level overview of the results that we got, on a monthly basis, they're getting 12 to 20 or even more on some months qualified meetings with people that actually have funds and people that are willing and ready to invest in their service. They had 142 qualified sales meetings over that 10 months span, the first 10 months of working together. They now have a cold email infrastructure set up, a system that allows them to book meetings on autopilot. They have partners like myself and Troy who are running this whole outreach for them, and we have all the correct systems in place. We're also sending emails from over 70 different email accounts that are subdomains of their main domains, so we're not jeopardizing their main website's reputation or their main email accounts. And we're just able to really just figure out, who do we want to target next? We get the data, we run the campaigns, we craft our copy that's going to be tailored to that person we're reaching out to, and we've had incredible success so far. As I'd mentioned, $90,000 in profit, not revenue, but profit that's already been collected from these clients. Another 25+ opportunities that are open in the pipeline. That is over $1.2 million in open pipeline revenue for Product Evo. And the $90,000 profit, that's a very lowball number because it's not revenue. It's the profit that they've made, but all of the clients that they sign are starting at a $5,000 plus minimum retainer. So when you look at the long-term effect of that and the results of cold email, it's actually pretty insane, pretty crazy. And the best part about it is that it's all predictable. So showing you what we did from a playbook campaign strategy perspective with Product Evo, I'm going to walk through the 4 main pillars, the buckets that we really focus on. Starting with number 1, the cold email infrastructure setup. Product Evo was using a couple of different emails to send out 100 emails a day and, or maybe even more, but they were not able to send high volume or really reach a lot of people because they didn't know what the technical setup was. So with BuzzLead, we purchased 35 subdomains that forwarded to their main website, and we purchased and set up 70 different email accounts. And we had both Outlook inboxes and Microsoft inboxes because we want to be able to optimize deliverability, and we wanted to be able to match the email service provider that we're using to send emails to the prospect's email service provider. And what I mean by that is if I'm using Outlook emails to send, I want to be reaching out to Outlook users. And on the flip side, maybe I'm using Google email accounts. I want to be reaching out to Google users. But really, we were on top of the deliverability the whole time from the get-go. And we purchased a ton of email accounts so we could send low volume and essentially keep that email deliverability health rate healthy. And that allowed us to reach out to, 1,000+ prospects every single day. And we just have that on autopilot. We set up the campaigns and let it run. From a data and list building and tech stack perspective, I think this was really some of the ultimate differentiators between what we're doing compared to what they're doing. You cannot rely on platforms like ZoomInfo or Apollo to find your data. Everybody else is using those platforms. It's the easiest to find the data and it's the most saturated data. And you're also going to find a lot of inaccurate data or a lot of unverified context. So to combat this, BuzzLead's tech stack is pretty intensive, and we used a number of different tools to really find lookalikes of ProductEvo's best case studies. So when we first got started, they already had their ICP really dialed in, but on top of that, they were very, very, very great at just producing great case studies and actually having resources that we could use in our outreach. So one of the tools that we used was Ocean.io. ProductEvo, they had a couple of really good case studies. I would plug in those case studies websites, like the companies of the case studies. I would take that website and essentially plug it into Ocean and find as many lookalike companies as I can. So we would run lookalike targeted campaigns going after customers or prospects that are identical to ProductEvo's best case studies. For other data, like one thing with ProductEvo is they're helping product creators. Teams that create different products, they're helping them launch new products. And without having access to store leads, which ProductEvo didn't, they didn't even know what store leads was, they were missing out on millions and millions of potential customers. So that's one of the tools too, where we wanted to find different teams that were developing products that were in specific niches that ProductEvo was able to service. So we found a lot of untapped data between these tools. And then last but not least, from the list building tech stack, Clay.com is an incredible tool. I use it to score the leads that I'm actually pulling. If I want to make sure that this lead is actually a great fit for my product, I could score it through that tool, and I could also enrich any contact information that I have across 15 plus, literally tens of different databases. So basically, if I can't find the data here, I could find it here. And if I can't find it there, I'll find it there. But essentially, instead of relying on ZoomInfo by itself, I'm relying on 20 plus different databases, and I'm finding untapped data that ProductEvo wasn't able to find. So the data was a huge piece, huge underlying factor in our success, because we were reaching out to, prospects that other people weren't. And we were essentially going to that river that was way further that nobody else wanted to walk to because it was a lot further and inconvenient to them. Moving on to crafting the offer. So with ProductEvo, they had spent time trying to practice how to write persuasive copy and how to make their offer stand out against their competitors. However, it was still just way too wordy. They were getting caught in spam, and it just wasn't really to the level that they needed it to be in order to succeed with cold email. So what we did with BuzzLead is we used the why you, why now method, which really just allows us to engage our prospects to actually open up the conversation up. And the way we do that is we poke the bear. We call it poking the bear, where we're essentially asking something about a problem that we know they have. So we're basically calling out an issue that we know that they're probably dealing with that aligns with our solution and how we could actually bridge them from the problematic state that they're in to the end goal that they want to be. And what I mean by that, because I've given you two different scripts here. When we're working with teams that are creating products, a lot of them are working with China factories. So they're sourcing all of their products to actually create them from different warehouses and factories in China. And a big issue with China is that there's a whole lot of volatility with the supply chain and just elections and a whole lot of drama going on. So we immediately knew that's probably a really good pain point to open the conversation with. And I'm not going to read the full scripts here, but just to give you the first pain point that we used, I noticed you oversee production efforts. Are you still dealing with manufacturing volatility in China? That was one example. And I have two scripts down, and then I follow up with the actual offer. And so rather than just saying we help companies create new products, we positioned it as we help product teams take their ideas from inspiration to tangible reality in under 150 days by utilizing our elevated product method to vet market opportunities, source production partners, and enable go-to-market solution. And then for the case study, we always plug in the case study that is most relevant to the prospect that we're reaching out to. So every time the case study that they're going to see is going to be something that is at least relevant to the business that they do, so they could see that we know how to help them. You got your call to action, but then really what we did is we ran 3-step sequences. So email 1, email 2, email 3, and we tested out a whole bunch of different variations of these scripts with the main thing that we were changing. The main thing that we wanted to split test was really that pain point that we're leading with to really get their attention peaked. And it could have been that these product teams, are dealing with manufacturing issues with the volatility of China, Or it could be that they had an unsuccessful previous product launch that had them disappointed and they want to try out something new. Or it could be that they just are overloaded on stuff and they have bandwidth issues. They don't have the team to support new product development, even though they have a lot of demand for it. So there's many different ways that we could go about leading with pain and poking the bear. You could see these scripts here. I have some other videos kind of giving you strategies around that. To wrap things up here, put a bow on it, inbox management and cold calling was really the huge differentiator for us working with Product Evo. Because if you're sending cold emails at a high volume, like if you're sending it at scale over 1,000 emails a day, you absolutely need to have an efficient inbox management process. You need to know how to respond to these prospects very timely, 15 to 30 minutes max, because you want to respond to them right when they're there, they're ready, and they're hot. If you wait 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, or even 24 hours later, you're going to miss so many opportunities and you don't even realize it. So what BuzzLead did to manage everything is, we're using SmartLead as our email sending software, but we set up some automations where anytime we get an interested reply from one of our prospects, that interested message and whatever they responded with is going to automatically push into our Slack channel. So my entire team gets notified, hey, this Product Evo just got an interested reply from this prospect. And the message looks similar to what you see right here, where you could essentially click on the link to go and access the conversation and respond right there in real time. But even on top of that, what we're doing with this automation is we are automatically enriching that contact with their mobile phone number right there on the spot without us having to do anything. So a prospect responds interested and we're automatically getting sent a notification that they responded interestedly, and we also have their mobile phone number. So we could pick up the phone, call them right there when they're ready and hot, and we can convert them into a sales meeting. So that's a huge aspect of what we do here with BuzzLead. We're doing cold email marketing, but we're also picking up the phone and making dials. And then just to give you a sneak peek at, a couple of the campaigns, here's 3 Product Evo campaigns that we ran. The number over here is not the amount of leads, that's the amount of emails over those 3-step sequences. But if you look at the results, they're absolutely insane. 141 positive replies over here. This was a batch of like 5,500 emails. This one had I think it was 2,000 or 3,000 emails, 34 positive replies. Then this one had 4,000 emails, give or take, or leads, 52 positive replies. But it's literally just been this on repeat. It almost sounds like a broken record of crazy, insane results for Product Evo. And it's because we thought outside the box. We found untapped data. We took their previous experience with cold email marketing and really just expanded on that. And it's been an absolute insane journey, 10 months, and we're going to be working with them for years. If you saw this video and if it is relevant to you, or, if you could resonate with it at all, I hope you get some value out of it. If you've done cold email yourself and you just had really bad success and you'd rather just hand it over to some experts so that they could book you 10 to 20 meetings, then just check the description below. You can actually see it right over here. I've got my scheduling link here. I would love to chat with you, hear about your business. We're heading into the new year, 2025. Would love to see if we could help. If we can, we will absolutely help you out. If not, I'll be honest with you and I'll give you some advice to take home so that you could try this out yourself. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this one. I'll talk to you next time. And then also, if you want to see the full case study interview, then just check below. You'll actually see the video for the case study with Josh, where we actually go deeper, diving into everything, and we'll kind of give you the ins and outs of everything, and you'll hear it from Josh Taylor himself, the CEO of Product Evo. Thanks, guys. Stick around for the next video, and then check out the case study. Talk soon.